Hey guys, happy Saturday. Welcome back. It is October 11th, and in this video, we're talking Railtown AI. You guys might have seen this report bantied about on social media from Research Capital with a $2 price target for Railtown. This report came out about a year ago, and now that Railtown has announced their merger with AI partnership is complete, subject to a vote by the other company, which I think will be just a mere formality. Now that they have completed that acquisition, finally, people are wondering, is the analyst, Mr. V, as I call him, going to publish an updated research report on Railtown? And I'm here to tell you, unfortunately, no, there is zero chance that he is going to publish an updated report on Railtown. I'm going to go through with you why, and we'll talk about some price targets for Railtown now that we have the acquisition complete. If you're interested in learning a little bit more and you can handle adult conversation, maybe something that challenges your previously held beliefs from someone who is long on the stock, wants to see the company succeed, but has a very risk-averse, emotionless, non-biased way of looking at the company, doing analysis without hype and speculation. If that is what you're interested in, stick around. Let's get right into it. On October 8th, I went over this press release from Railtown here on video for you guys because this is a long-awaited and very exciting new development for Railtown. They finally brought home this merger between Railtown and AI partnership. And they also announced some new information, a memorandum of understanding with Digital. We went over that in the video on October 8th as well. There was another press release following this, and I would say it's reasonable to expect some additional upcoming press releases. So stay tuned. And hopefully now that this press release is out and available to the public, we get to see the CEO out hitting the press and talking up the company, giving some guidance maybe about what revenue expectations might be. Maybe he'll do that, maybe he won't. That is part of the speculation and something you need to decide for yourself while we are waiting. But while we are waiting on that and some guidance from the company about what their revenue might be, because that will drive the valuation of the company and what it is trading for out there on the market. While we are waiting on that, we do have this about 1.5-year-old report now from Mr. V with a $2 price target. And I'm going to share with you guys that I reached out to him back in June of this year, June of 2025. And he is not going to be publishing an update on Railtown. We'll get into why here in just a bit. But I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit more rational way about this $2 price target compared to maybe what you've been hearing out there on social media. Can we just break it down in about 60 seconds? I think that if we're going to use this analyst report as a way to try and value Railtown, it is important at least to understand the math behind it. And we can do that really quickly. And forgive me if it's already been done for you, but I think it is very germane to understanding valuing Railtown right now going forward while we're waiting on a little bit more information. So bear with me for just a second. Using the analyst information in this report, you can see that for his base case estimated revenue in fiscal year 2027, he has this orange bar at 31 million, which is comprised of 17 million US and 14 million rest of world. Mr. V says that he's going to use a EV to revenue multiple of 12x on FY27 revenue to estimate his target price. That is perfectly fine. And we know that the shares outstanding in June 2024 in the monthly report for Railtown were 119 million. June 2024. We also know, just to make sure we have the math correct, that he is factoring in a 20% dilution factor, and I'll make sure and include that in my formula. Using his numbers with 31 million 2027 annual revenue, a 12x EV to revenue multiplier We know there were 119 million shares outstanding, and we're going to factor in a potential future 20% dilution factor. We can multiply out and find out that he was estimating that the company at that time would be worth, in terms of EV to revenue, and then adjusted down for dilution, that's that 1 minus 0.2, $297.6 million. When we take the shares outstanding, 119 million, and we add 20% to them, we get 143 million shares. Divide that equity value by the shares outstanding post dilution in his estimate, and you get $2.08. So very close to that $2 price target. This is how Mr. V did his math. Now that we understand that, we can start thinking, what do we know about Railtown right now in terms of their revenue? What do we know about Railtown right now in terms of their number of users? And how can we predict price targets for FY27 based on what we know now? Let's dig into that. I'm just going to walk through, even though some of you aren't going to like it, why I call this a speculative play and why I think you should be very cautious about getting price targets for this stock from social media. Right now, we know that up to this point, Railtown has zero revenue. It's what I call a pre-revenue company. And it is exciting to get this acquisition with AIP done, because the thought process is AIP is going to have revenue, and that will flow through to Railtown's books and maybe even create some synergies for new revenue. We know from the press release on Wednesday, October 8th, that there are some earnout milestones related to the acquisition of AIP, and those target revenues to fully pay AIP for the merger are set at $1 million annual recurring revenue from AIP affiliates, and the second milestone is $2 million of revenue. I'm going to be honest, those numbers are a little bit lower than I was hoping to see. I was hoping we'd see, 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 million from AIP, but this is what we got to work on right now. 1 million and 2 million as a 3-year target for AIP to get paid for this acquisition. 1 million or 2 million in revenue over the next 3 years, taking us into 2027, is pretty far away from this base case of $31 million, which only contemplated at that time Railtown. And 18 months has gone by and we're at no revenue for Railtown still. Could we be at 31 million in the next 2 years? I don't know, maybe, but that is kind of the point of this conversation. We need to hear from the company, what are their plans for revenue? What are their expectations? What is their guidance? Because until then, I could make up whatever number I want and sit here making videos to you 5 hours a day, and it is complete conjecture, complete guesswork, complete speculation. Could I be right? Sure. But it could also be zero for the next 2 years too. We just don't know. And you then, as the investor, as the watcher of this information out on social media, you should always get your information directly from the company. If you are getting it from someone like us out here on social media, what information do we have? Guesswork, speculation. Recognize that for what it is before you decide how you're going to manage your risk in speculating in this trade. I hear people guaranteeing you that this stock is going to hit $55 in May of 2026. Based on what? Based on what? Based on what revenue projection? Based on what EV to revenue multiplier? It's fun just to make up numbers, but the revenue's got to show up somewhere. And we don't have any revenue right now. We don't even have any guidance for management. So how on earth can these people in good conscience be counseling you guys? And I see the titles on the videos: buy Railtown, sell everything else, only buy Railtown at any day, every price. How can they in good conscience tell you this when they have no idea what the revenue potential is? Because management has communicated nothing yet. I might have a different story if management communicates some revenue expectations. Right now, we got the very first glimpse of the 1 and 2 million 3-year earnout targets. And so we have to ask ourselves, if that is a rough guess of revenue expectation over the next 3 years from AIP. What revenue is Railtown going to bring to the table with all of these new partnerships going on? In the analyst information, he had here on the bottom of this chart, assumptions for market penetration. How many users would Railtown have by FY27? And you can see at the two bottom lines here, rest of world 0.5%, USA 3%. And those are percentages of the total estimated software developers in the world. And if we run the math on his base case using those percentages, that is around 276,000 users. When we look at the actual number of users from the most recent monthly report from the company, we're pretty far away from 276,000. We're at 1,200 companies/users. And to be clear, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with this. It is what it is, but it is also useful to understand 1,200 users versus the example we went through and what the analyst was estimating as his market penetration, the number of users to drive a revenue target, to drive a valuation. We are far away from the revenues and the market penetration that he was dreaming of in July of 2024 when he published this analyst report. I know there are people telling you this stock's going to be at $1 next week, $5 the week after, 55 in May. How can anyone say that when management hasn't communicated with us yet? And it's okay if they haven't communicated with us, and it's okay to still be speculative and hopeful, but I think it is irrational and irresponsible to be telling people $55 price targets when the stock's at 50 cents. The company has no revenue and they haven't communicated anything yet. Let's allow the company to communicate what their plan is. And hopefully, you know, all of us that got in here cheap, I do have a long position in this stock. Hopefully those of us that got in here cheap, if the press from the management about revenue expectations, whenever they decide to do it over the next coming weeks, months, quarters, whenever it is, hopefully that meets our expectations and the price can go up. Until then, I would say be very careful about your expectations for the price. Be very careful. Manage your risk. It's still a speculative trade until you have several quarters booked of revenue or more news from the company, more guidance from management. Until we have those things, everything is a guess. And if you're comfortable investing your life savings in a guess, by all means, do your thing. Do not let me stop you. I'm not trying to stop you. Talking to those of you who can't afford to lose your life savings if any of our guesses are wrong. I told you at the beginning of this video I would tell you why there is not going to be an updated analyst report from Mr. V. I did reach out to him in June of 2025, and I can tell you with 100% certainty he is not going to be publishing any updates on Railtown because he doesn't work for Research Capital anymore and he does not cover the stock. Now, could Research Capital or Canaccord Genuity, somebody working with management, update some guidance? Maybe. It's not going to be Mr. V, so don't put your bets on him. But it sure would be nice if management is working with any research firm to get some updates out there. Even, like I said, management just come out and talk about synergies, partnerships, more importantly, revenue expectations. Let us know what the expectations are so we can determine what is a good price for this stock. Otherwise, it's not because there's bad guys out there. It's not because people are trying to trick you into selling your shares by making a comment on a YouTube channel. That is all just nonsense. The market is very efficient at valuing companies based on known information. And right now, we simply have no information. So the price is what it is. It is not any more difficult to understand than that, ladies and gentlemen. I hope by watching this evening's video, you got a little bit of education, maybe a little bit of entertainment, hopefully not too much anger. It's not my desire to make you angry. It is my desire to help educate you, help teach you talk about managing risk, because there are far too few people doing it out there. Look how many people just lost their entire life savings on crypto on Friday. You got to manage your risk. You got to be smart. You never know what is going to happen. And I don't want to see you guys crying in the streets, homeless, lost your wife, lost your car, because you gambled everything based on one person on YouTube telling you that a stock is going to be at $55 in 7 months. God bless him. I hope he's right. But God watch out if he's not. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I'm Tony DeNaro, and I will see you on the next video.